Naked, bound by her hands and feet with ancient rusty shackles, kneeling on the cold, bodily fluid-stained ferrocrete, she bows her head. With her long white hair soaked in bloody sweat hanging over her face like a death veil, she silently and endlessly repeats prayers to the Emperor. It's damp in this cell at the bottom of nowhere, and the steady sound of droplets hitting pavement is threatening her composure. In the murky darkness, it's difficult to see much, which only heightens her hearing, and the echoes of other prisoners' pain, fear, sorrow, mourning and torture that permeate the very air almost drown out the sounds of what must be heavy machinery, grinding and hissing. She can also hear the hefty footfalls of the corrupted Astartes that are patrolling the halls outside of her oubliette. A prison barge most likely, she thought, but really could be anywhere. Wherever she is unable to see anything using her gift, nor can she communicate with anyone. The seamless metallic collar around her neck must be some type of psychic hood, and while she is no psyker, it is working just the same. Sequestered from everything familiar, beaten, starved, and in chains on the way to Emperor knows where, this would have broken most people days ago. Has it been days? Or weeks? Her faith is strong, however, and she is as deadly as any space marine. She is human, though, and as such she drifts to a place between sleep and consciousness. She was startled awake when the door to her cell suddenly swung open with an ear-piercing screech, revealing a corrupted Astartes. She hadn't even heard him coming. Slowly looking up at him, she is shocked by his appearance. She had fought against them and killed many, but this is her first time sharing space with one up close and not be killing him. Standing over 9 feet tall, he is adorned in Mark II power armor that appears to be fusing with his flesh, and the bolt pistol he has maglocked to his hip is what looks like blinking eyeballs all over it. There are greasy, chitin-like thorns sprouting out of the peculiarly colored armor itself. What she can see of his flesh is covered in sores, thick black hairs almost sloughing off in places, and small, tentacle-like appendages wriggle about as if of their own control. In his right hand is his helmet. His face was almost unrecognizably human, as he once was, with eyes so red they looked almost black in the low light, and his face scarred so devastatingly it was difficult to make out facial features, but she could see that his lower jaw had been removed somehow, and was now a hideous blend of rotting flesh and metal where bone and teeth used to be, spittle steadily dripping from the wound and sizzling on his armor. As he moved closer, she had to deftly control her fear when she saw that his left arm was not an arm at all. About 6 inches above his elbow, the arm had been removed and replaced with a large articulating claw grinder that is actively whirring and snapping, as if searching for prey. When he spoke, it was like listening to hundreds of different voices saying the same thing.
Your people are no more, and you are now without a home world,
he said flatly as he holds out a picked screen showing her planet, and everyone she'd ever loved, save for the Emperor, glow a bright purple, and then detonate like an atom bomb. Chunks shooting off into space in every direction, leaving only a faint cloud of what was once organic matter, the collective ghosts of its inhabitants.
Beautiful, isn't it?
He laughed at her. Choking back tears and vomit, she steeled herself to stare at him blankly. Although devastated in ways she never imagined possible, she knows that to show weakness now would end in death, for she would never, Emperor protects, fall prey to the temptations of heresy. She is a battle sister, whose sole reason for existing is to have the honor of giving her life for the Imperium, while killing as many of its enemies as possible. This was no exception. They had captured her while she was not in official capacity, and so far as she could tell, they either know she's a psyker or afraid she might be. But besides that, she's simply a woman. Prayers aside, she had spent her captive time wisely, feeling out every inch of chain, searching for weaknesses, and was able to dislodge one of the chains anchoring her to the floor. The cuffs had no give, but she did. So, painfully and messily, she was able to break her right hand enough to slip it out. Her being no stranger to battle or captivity is clever enough to hide what she did and wait for a moment if she is to get one, rather than tear free and get herself killed, or worse, in a compulsive attempt to escape.
This does not offend you.
As he reached down and grabbed her hard enough she could taste blood by the chin and jerking her face up towards his decrepit maw.
Then you will be perfect.
His claws breaking the skin of her cheeks, she could feel the sickly warmth of blood trickle down her face. Bending down to look her closely in the eyes.
You're a pretty one, and our destination is a great distance from here. The men on this ship are near to buggering each other. We will have fun with you before.
His vox crackled to life. If she had a moment, it was now. The instant he was distracted, she readied herself.
Malfeus, report!
It squelched. Throwing her head back, scratching her face in the process, he responded.
I'm with her now. She's alive. We'll bring her to your quarters anon. Eagerly awaiting your arrival.
It snapped. As he moved to replace his helm, she leapt into action so quickly he hardly registered it as she used the chain and cuff to hook his pistol and whip it into her hand. Before he could react, she leveled it at his abomination of an arm and squeezed, tearing the wretched thing clean off in a gout of crimson blood and black oil. Letting out an inhuman groan, he moved to grab her with his remaining arm, but she removed it just as quickly as the first. She could smell the burning flesh as his augmentations tried to heal the wounds, but he was clearly rocked. Not wasting a fraction of a second, she slung the chain around his bulging neck and, running on the wall, spun around him once and pulled. His head twisted clean around in a sickly, wet, grinding, dull crunch. As his limp body fell, she tightened her grip and tore his head off. Spouting blood and ichor, she tossed it into a corner. The shots had to have been noticed, and if by some chance they weren't, his inability to report to command would be. She had to act, and she had to do it now. The collar must come off. She doesn't have time to search for something to pry it loose or find a key. What she does next is almost sure to kill her, but it's her only chance. She must move from here before reinforcements arrive. Her hand steady, she takes the bolt pistol, manages to slip the barrel between her neck and the metal. She holds her breath, and finding the least dangerous angle, she squeezes the trigger.